I'm James Cridland, and this is The Future of Radio. It's from my International Radio Trends newsletter, which you can find at james.crid.land. And this is it for March the 16th. The Voice of America gets cut. Almost 1,300 journalists, producers and assistants are no longer working at Voice of America. And for the first time in 83 years, the broadcaster has been silenced. I went to the Voice of America in 2009 and I did a talk there about radio's future, and I've just found my blog post from the time and restored it to my website. It reminded me of my visit. I found it a little old-fashioned and governmenty, but also genuine and sincere about its commitment to its listeners. The White House suggests that it is radical propaganda and alleges that it is left-biased. Now, much of everything appears to skew to the left if you believe that Fox News is fair and balanced, I suppose. But along with the closure of US aid, what an astonishing loss of soft power around the world. The BBC World Service is currently arguing about the sources of its funding as part of wider BBC funding talks due to complete in 2027. About 2/3 of the cost of the BBC World Service comes from the UK licence fee in a rushed deal originally done by Mark Thompson in October 2010. The considerable benefit that the BBC World Service delivers around the world is immeasurable to Great Britain, but yet successive UK governments haven't seemed to have considered that. I know from my own travels how important the BBC World Service is to the standing of the UK, and while Voice of America may not be in the same league, it still really benefits the perception of the United States of America. It's a massive mistake to close it. Restoring the post from VOA has also meant that I found and restored a ton of other posts from that time. So I've linked to a gushing piece about NPR, things I learnt from Tokyo FM in Japan, a trip to CBC Radio 3 in Vancouver, the strangeness of radio in Bangkok, and a look around Austereo in Melbourne. It's quite a nice trip. That, down memory lane. I might have been unemployed at the time after my time at the BBC, but what an enjoyable travel journey it all was. Emboldened by blogs, I wrote a new piece about why it was time for ABC local radio to be on FM in the capital cities here in Australia. For them not to be seems short-sighted from the ABC, but also short-sighted from the government, who after all funds the ABC to exist. The amount of hatred I've had in Facebook groups for making that suggestion has been interesting, to say the least. One reason the Facebook commenters give is that it's illegal to simulcast on AM and FM. However, there's no such law, as far as I can discover, not least many ABC local radio services do exactly that. I recorded an interview this week for J-Wave 81.3 FM about the 100th anniversary of radio starting in Japan. I'll be on JK Radio Tokyo United with John Kabira between 6 and 11:30 on March the 28th. That's in a couple of weeks. Radio in Japan started after the government was concerned about misinformation and wished to give a sense of unity to the station. It's never been as popular as in the US or Europe and reaches about 40% of people in Japan every week as opposed to about 90% in many other countries. It is still a vibrant medium, and John told me during the interview that younger audiences are rediscovering this machine called radio. And finally, Smooth Radio in North Wales has closed its AM transmitters. AM continues to be slowly turned off in the UK, especially by the commercial sector. Here's a bit of the promo talking about that closure. Smooth FM in North Wales. Where am I speaking next? Well, I'm in Dublin, in Ireland, March 27th to the 28th. If you're listening to this, and you're in Dublin and you fancy catching up for a pint of the black stuff, then I will be delighted to do that. That would be fun. I'm actually there a day early and stay there for another day afterwards. So yes, that would be a good thing. Anyway, Radio Days Ireland is a thing. Maybe it's a Radio Days that I can actually get to this year, along with Radio Days North America, which I'm also going to in Toronto between May the 7th and the 8th. In the middle of that, Evolutions in Chicago, in Illinois, March the 31st to April the 3rd is when that is on. The podcast show in London, May the 20th to the 21st. Just before that, I believe I'm speaking at PodCamp 2.0. That's not yet confirmed, but podcamp.live is where you can learn more information about that. There's Podcast Movement going on in Dallas, in Texas, in mid-August. Just booked my tickets for that. That's good. Qantas has a deal on at the moment, so I better get that booked and also get these two booked as well. Pennine Radio's 50th birthday in Bradford. I will be going to London. I think the way I'm going to be doing this is a return to London and then a return from London to Calgary, which is where I am speaking the following week. Pod Summit YYC in Calgary in Canada. That's between September the 19th to the 20th. There may be a Radio Days Asia in there as well. Due to have a conversation about that when I was in Athens, but that never happened because I wasn't in Athens because of the cyclone. Everything's fine, by the way, here. The worst that happened to us is that the pool went green. There you go. I know. First world problems. Thank you so much to my many supporters, including Wade Kingsley and Soma FM and Radio King, plus Greg Strassel, Sam Phelps, Richard Hilton, Emma Gibbs, Jocelyn Abbey and James Masterton for being regular supporters. If you would like to support my work in any way, please do. You can buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/James Cridland. You can become a member if you like to give regularly or just give a one-off coffee or $5 in there. I'm on Blue Sky as james.crid.land. Not that I use it much. I'm on Mastodon, which I use much more. James at bne.social, brisbane.social. That would be a fine place. And my website has more details about who I am and what I do and whether I can help you further. But until next time, keep listening.